Suck it, you shit!
You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another recut of some previous content. I decided to take both of my responses to PhantomStrider's stuff on Violence Jack and put them into one video so that I have an excuse to put it in the Devilman playlist, rather than just having it be part of a larger response, and to focus on the Violence Jack segment itself, as well as to give it to new viewers who may not have seen it before. I'm also going to be adding stuff if I have anything more to add to it, so it's not just old content, there are some new things I might add here and there.
Violence Jack.
Here it is, boys. The big one. Or the other one that pissed me off just as much as the elfin lead part, But let's hear him out, let's see what he has to say.
I thought we couldn't get any worse. I honestly thought so. But I had yet to watch Violence Jack. The horrors of this revolting snuff fest. Mutilation, carnal knowledge, necrophilia...
Everyone always says that Violence Jack has necrophilia in it, but the closest thing is when Madsaurus makes out with Blue's decapitated head. Like, I mean, I guess kinda, but it's... When you say necrophilia, you expect, you know, some dick to puss with the dead, but... Also, it's funny that he said carnal knowledge when that literally just means sex. No, it's literally just him picking up her head and making out with it. Granted, still disgusting, but still.
Why is he called Violence Jack, you ask? Well... He's called Violence because he loves violence, and Jack because he carries a jackknife with him.
Such an oversimplification that people who don't understand Violence Jack always do. Violence in his name comes from the fact that he causes a storm of violence wherever he goes. It's not because he likes violence, it's because violence is naturally drawn to him and him to it, and it causes a storm of violence wherever he goes. The jackknife is what lends him his name, yes, but I think that that's a gross oversimplification that people who don't understand the series typically make.
Oh, Blue, I can feel you inside of me, he gurgles proudly between bites. And if you can hear that without your food going in the wrong direction, I don't know if you're still legally sane. Pussy!
I don't know, I think people overhype how brutal Violence Jack is. I love Violence Jack, and yes, it's brutal as fuck, but people definitely overplay the shit out of it and try to exaggerate how much they think it actually disturbs them, when I think wholeheartedly people are just trying not to sound fucked up when they're like, that really wasn't that bad. When I personally really think it's not that bad compared to other stuff out there. It's definitely gruesome, but it's no Mai-chan's Daily Life, for instance.
It was cut in all countries it was released to.
Not entirely true. There is an uncut version that was released in both Hong Kong, and there's also the uncut release by Discotek here now. Granted, that Discotek release was not out at the time you made this video, I don't think, so I'm gonna cut you slack on that one. And since this original video that I made, another Discotek release came out on Blu-ray that's actually uncut. Because the other uncut Discotek release had the mosaics, you know, pixelation, still in when you watched it. They included the unpixelated version from the Hong Kong VCD in lower quality as a bonus feature, because that was originally the only way to get it uncensored. But I think they found the masters again, and then for the Blu-ray, it's uncut in high quality the whole way through.
And for Jeebus' sake, don't buy it. Whatever made this does not deserve the traffic.
Whatever you do, don't watch PhantomStrider, because whatever runs that channel does not deserve the traffic. You see that logic, man? Fuck you.
Fuck you!
Unfortunately, this means Japan also has some of the worst cartoons in the world.
Well, can you boys see what he shows here? See what he uses as an example as one of the worst animes? You can tell that I'm super pleased with that. Fuck off, PhantomStrider. He shits on Violence Jack a lot. In the last two videos I've talked about him, it is shown that he makes fun of Violence Jack and shits on Violence Jack. He does that in this too. He does that a fucking lot.
For the love of humanity, don't look these anime up.
I can say, at least on Violence Jack, don't listen to him on that. Violence Jack is fucking great, and fuck him for continually saying otherwise.
Second worst anime of all time is Violence Jack.
Well, Well, I've already given my piece on why he's wrong about this. Violence Jack is a really cool, post-apocalyptic anime. It's kind of similar to Fist of the North Star, but much more violent and graphic. It's also made by Go Nagai, the creator of Devilman, and the manga has a connection to that and several other Go Nagai series, but the anime doesn't really tie in. I'll admit the OVA trilogy does not do the manga justice, but it's really nowhere near as bad as he's making it out to be. The gore and stuff like that adds to the effect of just how terrible the situation is in the anime. And overall, I've already made my piece about that. If you want my opinion on that, just go back to the last anime video I discussed with PhantomStrider, because it's the same shit.
Evidence of Evil Town, a trapped, underground, vermin-infested city. It turns out there's actually a perfectly fine world above them. They just seem to like living like this.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
Okay, new point, actually. No, first off, Evil Town is the plot to one episode, not all three. Second off, the world above is not perfectly fine. If you've watched the other two episodes, you know that it's fucking hell up there, too. And number three, they don't like being down there. They're fucking trapped and have not been able to leave. That's kind of the point of Evil Town, and that's why they're digging their way out. It sounds to me like you didn't really pay attention. Or in other words...
You weren't listening, were you?
He asked the inhabitants to call him Violence Jack. Why violence? Because he likes violence. And why Jack? Because he has a jackknife. Shut up!
Like I said last time, it's a gross oversimplification. He doesn't just like violence, as he likes to put it. No, he causes a storm of violence wherever he goes. Literally, that's where he gets the name, is because violence surrounds him. He's drawn to him, and he is drawn to it. The jackknife, yeah, it's because he carries the jackknife. But the violence and the storm of violence around him is what it's about. It's not because he likes violence, it's because he naturally attracts it, kind of like a magnet naturally attracts metal.
Violence Jack is basically the anime equivalent to a tasteless snuff fest.
What, are you retarded?
I've seen a couple of people who talk about Violence Jack use the word snuff, but you do realize that snuff means real murder filmed and, distributed because it's real murder. Violence Jack is animated. There's no way to have an anime equivalent to a snuff fest, but, I guess there's a lot of death in it, so that's what you mean. But, you could say that about a lot of things, so no. Just no.
Morality just isn't a concept that even exists in this world.
False.
That's absolutely wrong. Morality is definitely fleeting. There's not a lot of it. But you definitely see morality in the world of Violence Jack. Jack himself is, the one who's protecting them. He's not exactly a beacon of morality. He's not exactly Kenshiro, but he's still got his morals. I did a whole overanalyzing about his morals, actually. But not only that, but you also have, June, the school teacher, and the kid are all examples of morality in Hell's Wind, which is a different episode, which, again, it looks to me like you don't even know that multiple episodes of this show exist.
If you should ever have the misfortune to find a copy of this in your local bargain bin, I recommend you burn it.
And I recommend you buy it, because it's a good watch. Not to mention the fact that you're not going to find it in a bargain bin for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's not exactly the most common thing in the world. You can still find it pretty cheap online, especially with the Discotheque re-release, but it's not exactly the most sought-after thing. It's very underrated, in my opinion. I remember back when we had FYE around here, they never fucking had it in stock. So if you found it in a bargain bin, fucking buy that shit immediately, because it's worth it. Trust me, it's worth every penny. I spent maybe 15 to 20 bucks on it, still worth it. I actually have 2 different copies of Violence Jack. It's actually 3 now. I have the bootleg, I have the Discotheque DVD, and the Discotheque Blu-ray. I highly recommend that you buy it if you find it. I might actually buy the VHSs at some point too, just for collection purposes. As an added bonus, here's the Bennet the Sage clip with the Violence Jack VHS from that response.
You probably wanted this.
Violence Jack... He reviewed Violence Jack. Oh boy. No, but he didn't review Violence Jack, right? You told me... Chisu told me that he didn't. Let's see.
This is pretty rare. This isn't just the English dub. This is the uncut version. You can't even find a torrent of this.
What are you gonna do?
Let alone a physical copy online.
What are you going to do?
And I'm gonna keep it that way.
You sack of shit. What are you going to do to that tape?
Let that child alone.
he just standing there? Okay. This bit is going on. Just get through it already, damn it. You know, speaking of dragging and bad pacing, you sack of shit. And he's too much of a pussy to review Violence Jack.
Win named Amnesia.
Your audio got like shit there, dude. Have you considered hopping off that bridge yourself? Just a thought. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this recut. Have a good one. Toodles.
I'm a bit of an elbow man myself, actually. Bit different, bit weird. Not sexual.
I'm a Michael Jordan.
Michael Jackson's semen.
Curry sauce all over your anus. Delish.